Hi there, it's time for our weekend preview on the Matchbook Weekend Football Podcast. I'm Ali Maxwell. We're going to get stuck into some exciting Premier League action this week, but also a couple of thoughts in Scotland, in the EFL, maybe one in France as well. Who's taking me through it? Well, on the show today, Mark O'Hare from We Love Betting. Good morning, Mark.
Morning, Ali.
A good start to the Champions League knockout stages, in your opinion?
Yeah, fantastic. It's good when you put the hard work in and some of the results pay off. Some of them didn't quite go to plan. Liverpool away at Atletico Madrid, for example. But I've watched all 4 games, all 90 minutes of them in the last couple of days. Was intrigued, excited, and compelled of all of them, to be honest. So, good start.
You're one of those people who seem to have a different time in your life. Like, I don't know where you get all the time to do all the amazing things that you do. I guess in reality, it probably comes down to work ethic. Well, hopefully you've got some good stuff for us today. Adrian Clarke, another hardest working man in showbiz, former professional footballer, current broadcaster, pundit and analyst. How are you doing this morning, Adrian?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, I've missed the show last couple of weeks. So, good to be back in the saddle.
Yeah, well, we've been absolutely, racking up the winners, as you can imagine, Adrian. So, look, let's start, because it's a brilliant slate of Premier League fixtures this weekend. We've got 3 fixtures containing 6 of the top 10. So there should be some quite significant results in terms of the top half of the Premier League. Let's start with Arsenal against Everton. Arsenal at the Emirates here, 2.08 as we record. Everton 3.66, the draw 3.64. Arsenal minus half a goal, 2.06. Everton plus half a goal, 1.877. Over 2 3/4 goals is 1.952. And the same price for the under. So, Adrian, first time you've been on for a few weeks, obviously someone that keeps a very close eye on goings-on at the Emirates. Arsenal unbeaten in 6, 4 of them draws, though, 2 victories. How do you sort of judge things? How are they going at the moment?
I think they're ticking along okay, actually. I've been pretty impressed. I think that the winter break in Dubai was perfect for Mikel Arteta. He needed it big time. He needed to just get a little bit of time together with the group, just to get his methods across. And to be honest, to give them a bit of a mini pre-season. I saw some images, and I spoke to 1 or 2 of the guys that went over on the training camp. And they said they really, really worked hard. They grafted. And this is so important, because Mikel Arteta needs the team to be super fit to play the way that he wants. And I think it was really significant last weekend against Newcastle. They didn't tail off. You've seen in previous weeks where Arsenal started okay and then faded. This time they sustained what was a pretty good performance, I have to say, against the Magpies. So I'm quite bullish, really, about Arsenal moving forward between now and the end of the season. Aubameyang, good to see him back among the goals. All the big guns scored, which I think was massive. Mesut Ozil had a terrific game. And do you know what? I think that Ozil won't play in Greece against Olympiacos tonight. He'll be nicely rested for Sunday. And when I think about the game tactically, Everton 4-4-2 under Carlo Ancelotti pretty much every time. And it's not a strong 2, let's be honest. Last time it was Schneiderlin and Sigurdsson. Not a good combination, in my opinion, and certainly not without the ball. So I would imagine that Mesut Ozil might have another field day here. Arsenal can outnumber them in there and hopefully go and score a few more goals. I think it'll be a good game. I really do, because Everton are fairly attacking. But Arsenal are in good shape in a minute.
Yeah, Mark, what are, in your eyes, the strengths of Everton? I think I'm right in saying, unless something drastic has changed, that since Carlo Ancelotti took charge, it's possibly only Liverpool who have taken more points than them. They're one of the form sides in the division, which I think might still be going somewhat under the radar.
Yeah, similarly, since Marco Silva was sacked, Everton have collected 2 more points than any other team bar Liverpool. So things have changed. And I think Duncan Ferguson deserves a lot of credit. He's the one who put the 4-4-2 in place. Obviously, it's Carlo's go-to as well. But a back-to-basics approach really was the answer that most of the coaches and players sort of suggested when they were asked in the new year what the difference was. Because as far as I was aware, Silva was overloading the players with those are difficult sort of tactical structures. And I guess in the Premier League, even in the Premier League, towards the top and the bottom, there are structures of what players can take on board and what they can't. And Everton players just seemed a little bit bewildered by the sort of tasks that they're asked to impose. So, it's been a much more simple approach. They're going forward a lot quicker than they were under Silva. Defensively, they're a bit more organised. They have got Fabian Delph back this week, which isn't a huge change, but it probably does upgrade that central midfield slightly. I think I'm not going to say they're underrated for this game at all, because if you look at these odds, Arsenal are making baby steps in the right direction, and ordinarily you wouldn't pass up odds against Arsenal at home to Everton. They've got a fantastic record against the Toffees at home. But to me, this team is still in the midst of a transition. They are making steps in the right direction, but particularly in defence, I've seen massive improvements out of possession for Arsenal, much more balanced, solid, disciplined, in shape and balance there, which hasn't always been the case, really. And I think you look at the players, they seem to know what's required of them now. Adrian's right, the mini pre-season will have done them a world of good, but before that Newcastle game, only Sheffield United and Palace have averaged fewer shots than Arsenal under Mikel Arteta's leadership. Ozil hadn't been creating until that Newcastle game. Lacazette hadn't been finishing. Pepe hasn't done it consistently either. And Aubameyang has been suspended and missing games, but hadn't been completely firing either since the autumn. So you look at Arsenal as a season-long prospect, and they're actually underperforming in terms of the league table compared to their underlying numbers. That Newcastle win was only the third win by 2 or more goals all season. They have got that trip to Greece where I do expect him to rest and rotate, but we still don't know the team news, which I'd like to know before getting involved in this match. And Everton have had the full week off after the winter break themselves. So Arsenal were the same price against Sheffield United here recently, and Everton, do you rate them alongside Sheffield United or not? It's kind of open to question, really. I'd say they're probably around a similar level right now, and I think this is a potential banana skin for Arsenal, but at the same point, the prices just seem probably about right for me here. I look at that sort of Everton team. They've only lost once since Silva was sacked. Put a decent display away at City, going down 2-1. They've actually avoided defeat at Chelsea, Arsenal, and United since that time too. So it won't be a pushover win for Arsenal for sure.
Ali, can I just say, the last time that Everton beat Arsenal away, I played. Look at me. Look how old I am. Look how
that shirt you've got hanging on the wall.
Yeah, I wore it. Yeah, it was one of my games, and it was a terrible mistake from Bruce Rioch. He took me off on I think 84 minutes at 1 apiece, chasing the winner, and Paul Dickoff came on for me, and we lost 2-1. So there you go. It's just one of those things. But that's how long ago it is since Everton beat Arsenal away. So look, if you like your history, this isn't a fixture that the Toffees love. That's for sure. Watch out for set pieces in this game as well. Arsenal, under the radar, have been pretty strong from corners and wide free kicks. And every time I watch Everton, they look like they're really nervous. It's a hangover from the Silva regime, but they've not fixed it completely. I think they've conceded 11 from set pieces. So that could turn out to be the difference in what I think will be a pretty evenly contested game.
Yeah, just on that as well. Sorry, just one other stat I kind of found this week. That Newcastle match was only the 7th time this season in the Premier League Arsenal had won the shots on target count, which is quite remarkable for a team with so much attacking talent.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, just before we move on, in terms of a selection, it feels like you're saying, A, quite a tough match to call anyway, and B, the prices as we record, fairly fair.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to pick something here, it'd be Everton with the half-a-goal start, but I'm not at all confident in that. But I'd actually look towards the under goals line. If you can get under 3 goals at a fair price, probably an angle to consider, because, as I say, Arsenal have definitely improved defensively, and I think Everton will be a bit more streetwise this time around.
Perfect. Okay, well, let's move on to Leicester against Man City. Of course, this is second against third. Man City are 4 points ahead of Leicester, who have only 2 wins in their last 6 games, the Foxes. They are the home side, though. They're available at 4.6 as we record. Man City 1.775, the draw 4.15. Leicester with 3/4 of a goal head start, 1.934, and Man City minus 0.75 goals. Even money at 2.0. Over 3 goals is 1.892. and the under is 2.01. So an entertaining game expected in terms of the goal expectancy, Mark. Does that stack up with how you think this one might play out?
To an extent, I think Manchester City games are always filled with goals. Obviously, Wednesday night game against West Ham, when you expect them to rack up the goals, they won it with ease, 2-0. West Ham basically fielding a team of 11 defenders. But looking at this game, it's weird. I've had a bit of a quandary in the last 24, 48 hours looking at this. City at 1.75 or above is a value bet no matter how you look at it, which is probably going to alienate quite a few punters, to be honest. They'll probably look at it and say they're far too short, Leicester are too big. City are going to be looking to Real Madrid on Wednesday, and this match doesn't really have any bearing on their season at all. But, you've got to trust the market here, and the closing price is always considered to be the most efficient, the right price, really. And you look at City's prices away from home since the start of last season, they've only gone off bigger, I should say, at Anfield in December 2018. Or since December 2018, I should say, they've only gone off bigger at Anfield. They went off at 1.5 at Spurs earlier this month, 1.44 at Wolves, 1.38 at Arsenal, and 1.33 in this fixture last season on Boxing Day when Leicester were under, name escapes me, the French head coach. Leicester won that game. But there we go. They've only won 3 and 10 recently since early December. They haven't really convinced me at all when they've been playing the big sides this season. Unconvinced against Chelsea at home recently. They played Spurs earlier in the season at home. Got a draw. They got a win, but didn't really convince me that day either. Their conversion rates have dropped since Vardy stopped scoring and his wife had a baby. And Ndidi's been injured or not match fit. Chowdhury's suspended as well. So if Ndidi isn't on his game, they're potentially missing someone there in central midfield as well. So, you look at City, they're always going to go off shorter prices than Liverpool. That's just the way the market is and how the odds are compiled with modelling systems, which are all based around performance data. But the same point, you kind of look at the City team and go, can we trust them? Because, since November, they've lost at Liverpool, lost at Wolves, Spurs, drawn at Newcastle, but then they've also won really comfortably at Burnley, Arsenal, Villa and Sheffield United. So the conundrum is, which kind of City team are going to turn up? I looked at this game and thought left back was going to be a potential issue with Zinchenko suspended and Mendy injured. Mendy played midweek. Laporte also played, which is a surprise. So I can't expect him to play again with Madrid in mind on Wednesday. So, again, it's one I want to see the team sheet, see how serious City are going to take this game. They went pretty strong against West Ham in midweek. So, the theory is they'd probably rest a few for the weekend. Sterling is missing as well. Defensively, without Laporte, barely ever keep a clean sheet. It's now 5 in 25 across all competitions. He's obviously been missing for most of those matches too. So if I had to have a bet, it would be opposing goals under 3.25 goals, around 1.75-ish. But on the face of it, City do look value, but I want to see the team sheet before I pull that trigger.
I mean, we always know that you come armed with as many on-the-pitch stats as possible, but I didn't realise you also knew every birth of a Premier League and their partners. So that is why you are above and beyond, Mark.
Attention to detail, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, it's important. Adrian, this game is quite an interesting one. You'd say that Leicester are slipping somewhat, but they've still got a 9-point gap to fourth place, which doesn't reflect that well on the teams fighting for that fourth spot. How do you think this game will play out? It's certainly one I'm looking forward to watching as a neutral.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I watched the last game. Watched it in a pub. I live in Leicestershire, so I watched it in a pub full of Leicester fans. They were buzzing when Jamie Vardy scored the opener. Lovely goal, if you remember. Harvey Barnes flicked a pass through for him on the counter, and you thought, "Hang on, this is Leicester. This is peak Leicester City." But what happened after that? City absolutely outclassed them. They pressed the living daylights out of the Foxes, and they couldn't really handle it. I thought it was a pretty one-sided game, and the one matchup that really caught my eye was Mahrez against Chilwell that day, and he basically had Chilwell on toast, twisted him left, right and centre. He was rested, wasn't he, against West Ham United, Mahrez. I think he'll get the nod to reconvene that particular duel, and I'd fancy him, I have to say, Mahrez to come out on top. Brendan's never beaten Pep, which I think is an interesting stat. I think he's had 4 stabs at it. Hasn't beaten him. I've watched quite a lot of Leicester. Haven't been massively impressed with their form. I think at the back, certainly they're nowhere near as solid as they were, and they're a bit bitty going forward. Without Harvey Barnes, who's in great form at the moment, without his contributions, they would have had less points rather. So no, I'm City, quite confident on City here. I think both teams will score, and the price is quite attractive. I think last time I looked, it was 3 for City to win and both teams to score. So that's where I'll be siding.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like Leicester on the counter-attack are one of the stronger teams in the league, and it feels like they might get at least a few opportunities to play into space in transition. That could be a way of hurting City. I do know, you mentioned the first time these guys played, 21st of December, 3-1 Man City. On Boxing Day, of course, Leicester being thrashed 4-0 by Liverpool. And I can't remember if it was Nick or Mark last week who pointed to that game as maybe just the moment this Leicester side lost a bit of confidence, and you can kind of see that reflected in subsequent results. We're going to talk about Chelsea against Tottenham now. This is the early kickoff on Saturday. Big game, basically in all facets. And Chelsea are 1.69 as we record to win this one. Spurs 4.9 and the draw 4.15. Chelsea minus 3/4 of a goal available at 1.99, and Spurs plus 3/4 of a goal 1.943. Over 2.75 goals 2.05, and the under 1.854. Mark, a question about pricing. Chelsea looking very, very short for this one to me, but the goal line seems to suggest that the goal expectancy is quite low as well. How do you think this game is as a prospect for you based on the prices we've just run through?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Ali, because that's the way I'm feeling as well. And I don't want to sort of go back to last week too much, but a lot of what I said last week is still quite relevant to Chelsea. They went off a bigger price against Man United. At the time of the recording, we didn't know that Tammy Abraham and Callum Hudson-Odoi would be missing from the Chelsea team. They drifted like a barge throughout Monday against Man United. And then they felt a bit sorry for Lampard too, when N'Golo Kante went off early as well. So Abraham should be back. Kante won't, so that's a big blow. Abraham's only scored twice in 10 anyhow, and he and Chelsea's form in front of goal has been an issue for quite some time really, and it could cost them the top 4 place. Performances have been reasonably decent, but it's just that clinical edge that they're missing. Giroud got some game time against United. He's been tragically underused, I think, this year, but interesting to see if he gets an opportunity now this weekend again. But I mentioned it last week. It was 26 points from Chelsea's first 12 games under Lampard. It's now 15 points from their following 14. 4 wins from 14 in that time since November's international break. Winless in 5 against the top half, conceding twice or more in 4 of those. And since the start of last season, with Sarri and Lampard as coach, Chelsea have gone off a 1.6 or bigger 10 times at Stamford Bridge, and they've only won 3 times. Which is obviously quite concerning. I look at them for this game. They went off 1.75 at home to Arsenal, who were missing Aubameyang that day. Obviously dominated the game in mid-January, but I still rate Spurs a little bit higher than Arsenal right now. And Chelsea were 2.38 in this fixture last year. Obviously different circumstances, different coaches, etc. The Spurs haven't been as big away from home in the Premier League, bar trips to Liverpool and City since the start of last season. So, the market really is rating Chelsea quite highly for this game, and Spurs have had that tough workout in midweek against Leipzig. Jose Mourinho, very spiky in his post-match dealings with the press about his approach to the game, his tactics, etc. Obviously handicapped without Kane and Son as well, but you look at that team that played against Leipzig, there's still plenty of talent in forward areas. I know there's no standout central striker, but Lucas Moura, Bergwijn, Dele Alli, Lo Celso, they can all create and can all conjure up opportunities. I'm surprised he's not taking more of an interest in Troy Parrott from the youth team, who's very highly rated as well. But I guess I look at this Spurs team and I haven't been overly convinced by Spurs under Mourinho. They've won the XG battle in 3 of the last 10, 2 of which were against Norwich. Rarely ever win away from home at the moment in the Premier League. Negative supremacy as well across a variety of performance data metrics as well. And I think you have to go back to Burnley probably in December for the last time they really put together a 90-minute performance. So whilst I'm very much anti-Chelsea at that price, it's hard to get too inspired by Spurs. Tough workout, just sort of 72 hours before this match as well. So to me, when you're in doubt in these sort of situations, take the bigger price. I'll back the draw.
Okay, Adrian, you can see why, but it's hard to find too many positives certainly in terms of form for Chelsea and in terms of the injury list at the top of the pitch for Spurs. Have you got an idea of how this one might play out? I was going to say, can we expect a Mourinho masterclass? But then I wonder if even that is slightly overplayed these days.
I've forgotten what they're like. Yeah, what is a masterclass? I don't know. He hasn't won at Stamford Bridge as an away manager yet, so that will be really sort of eating away at him, I'm sure. I think he's had 3 goes at it and not won any of them. Both teams struggling at both ends of the pitch, in my opinion. I've seen a lot of Chelsea, and they've been quite uninspiring. I think they've been fortunate to pick up some of the results that they've had, and the injuries are not helping. So that price, it's stunned me when you said it. I just think for a team that's lost 7 times at the Bridge already this season, that seems way too short for me to get involved in. I'm not very impressed by Spurs under Mourinho. I think that they're not good to watch. I think it's going to be quite an ugly game, actually. A bit bitty. Both managers will probably take a stabilising draw, which is why I'm leaning towards that price, which is 4.15 for the draw. I think a low-scoring draw is a good angle with neither strike force in particularly good form. I mean, you've taken 20 of Tottenham's goals out of the side with the absence of Son and Kane. That's massive. And none of the Chelsea boys are exactly flying in front of goal. So I think low-scoring draw is the way I see this one going. And they walk away kind of satisfied, but no one that happy.
They might as well not play the game. Just take a point each and move on. I mean, we've mentioned that it's interesting how Mourinho might set up here. I think it'd be interesting to see how Lampard sets up his side, because, of course, the reverse fixture, Chelsea switched to 3 at the back formation, and you know the general consensus was he sort of out-tacticked Mourinho. But even, I mean, it's one of those decisions that's you can kind of see both sides. You could do the same again because it worked well last time, but with the swap rather, now you're playing at home and the expectations on you to make the running and expectations on you to win. It would also seem like quite a defensive strategy.
He might change it, you know. I got a feeling you wouldn't play a back 3 if it was just Lucas Moura up top. You just wouldn't do it. I think there might be a bit of flexibility. If Chelsea go with a back 3, he could easily put Bergwijn up top in support, I think, of Moura or even Ali. So it might be a case of Jose waits to see how Chelsea's team sheet comes in. I think he'll have a plan A and a plan B. You know what he's like, and he certainly want to be well prepared for this one. Just as another point, by the way, Chelsea, if you want to get involved with Chelsea, and I would lean towards them, just the best or the highest ranked team they've beaten at home this season is Burnley. 11. I mean, so they're not exactly, they've not beaten any heavyweights as such. So yeah, draw all day long for me.
Okay, let's move on. Mark, you've got something for us in Scotland. It's the Hibs game against Livingston this weekend. Hibs are the home side. It's a 3 p.m. Saturday kickoff, 2.25 their price. As we record, 3.22 for Livy, and the draw 3.6. Hibs minus a quarter of a goal, 1.99, and Livingston plus a quarter of a goal, 1.934. Over 2.5 goals, 2.02. And the under 1.884. I think you successfully opposed Livingston, or rather, Goffey successfully, Nick Goff opposed Livingston in the Scottish Cup the other day, and that was a really good value winner for us. What are you going to go with here in this Hibs-Livy game?
I'm going to go with goals because we've got the 2 leading scorers outside of the Old Firm here in the Scottish Premiership playing each other. And I think overs is massively underrated here, which is always a little concerning when you're disagreeing with the market to the extent that I am. But everything I've done here suggests that goals are underrated. Hibs going really great guns since Jack Ross came into the club. 7 wins, 3 draws, 5 defeats. 3 of those defeats came against the Old Firm. Last weekend, they won away at Kilmarnock, a resurgent Kilmarnock 2-1. And if they beat Livingston now at the weekend, they move above them into 5th, and they're still only 5 points off Aberdeen and Motherwell in 3rd. So going really well. Very confident at Easter Road as well, where they're at home. Scored twice or more in 9 of the last 10 across all competitions. They've got the likes of Greg Doherty, McNulty, Deutsch, Scott Allen, all in very good form going forward, all very capable of producing goal-scoring opportunities and putting chances away at this level. The real issue is quite something similar, which was happening with Jack Ross at Sunderland. It's just a lack of clean sheets and defensive stability, really, which is holding them back. But obviously, you combine the two and you've got an abundance of high-scoring games then. Across the whole season, at Easter Road, games are averaging 3.23 goals, 85% going over 2.5. Across all competitions at Easter Road, 14 of the last 15 have gone overs. They've kept 3 clean sheets in that spell, 12 of them seeing both teams score. And if you look at Premiership games at home under Ross, solely, those games are averaging 2.75 expected goals as well. Livingston, much better at home, and they've got an artificial pitch to play on. 27 points collected at home, just 10 away from home. But, they're having a great season. They're well clear of relegation. Like Hibs, they like to play front foot football, struggle away from home in terms of getting victories, 8 defeats in 14. But they have scored in 11 of those games and conceded twice or more in 11 of them as well. So they're averaging over 2 goals against, I should say, away from home. Really could have been a lot more. They lost 1-0 at Ibrox last weekend. Really could have been 3 or 4. They've got players in forward areas in Dykes and Lawless capable of hurting Hibs. I think they've got plenty of potential there to score goals, averaging 1.19 expected goals away from home, which increases to 1.34 when you exclude the Old Firm. And those games overall are averaging 2.84 XG as well. So over 2.5 as standard wins 79% of the time away from home for Livingston. It's over 80% for Hibs as well. And the expected goals also point towards a high-scoring game too. Yet you can get odds against and overs. It's big value for me.
Happy days. All in. There we go. Over 2.5. Hibs and Livingston. We're on to any other business now. Adrian, I know that you are a keen follower of the EFL, and hopefully you might have found something interesting for us this weekend.
I hope so. To me, it's an obvious double. It really is. I know that you should avoid the Championship. I know it's a completely bonkers league that is unpredictable, but I can't resist it this week because there are 2 matchups that really catch my eye. Birmingham against Sheffield Wednesday. A lot of hatred there. Clarke against Monk. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a red card because I think both sets of players will be fired up. Wait and see which referees are appointed, I guess, for that one. But I have to side with Birmingham here. Across the last 8 games with the form table, they're second in the Championship, 15 points. Sheffield Wednesday rock bottom of that form table, just 5 points. And the issue I've got with them is that I think Monk is losing the dressing room. He's a fiery character. He's fallen out with a couple of senior players that have been ostracised, and all is not well. And performances have dipped dramatically. So I fancy Birmingham there. And the other one that I want to combine as a double is Preston against Hull, because Hull have no defenders at the moment. 1 or 2 might return this weekend, but they're really short. Last time away from home, they were awful. Lucky to lose 3-0 at Blackburn. Last time out, 4-4 at home to Swansea. So at the back, they're in a bad state. Preston's home form's a little bit wobbly, but I just look at the players, I look at the manager, I look at the overall package there, and think this is a home win. I can see Preston getting a confidence boosting win. So for me, it's the Preston Birmingham double. It comes out at 3.25, and I'll definitely be on it.
Okay, lovely. Yeah, I think Preston have got the best home record in the Championship over the course of the season, or certainly they did before their last home game. Mark, where are you going? Is there any other business from you as well?
Yeah, France, please. Strasbourg take on Amiens on Saturday night. Amiens probably hit the headlines over here in the UK last weekend because of their crazy 4-4 draw with PSG. They are second from bottom in Ligue 1, which, as you can understand, a team that goes 3-0 up in half an hour against the runaway leaders in France probably does create a few headlines. But Thomas Tuchel pretty much said as much post-match that he wasn't really bothered about the game. He'd left Neymar and Mbappe out of the squad completely. Ander Herrera was playing at right back. He actually brought 2 players on at half-time, and Thiago Silva was horrendous for the first half on his comeback from injury. So, but Amiens pretty fortunate to even get close to PSG in that game. They scored 4 goals from 5 shots on target. Were dominated across all the available metrics. When they went to 3-3 and 4-3 to PSG really should have finished the game off with another goal, or at least 2. But Amiens now winless in 13 in the league, 8 defeats in that stretch, won twice since September. That draw last weekend, despite getting the equaliser late on, is bound to hurt them massively. So away form is poor. So I want to oppose them here. They've lost 7 from 12 away. conceded twice or more in 8 of those games as well. A 58% loss record away from home since promotion, and at top half teams, they've taken 3 points from a possible 15, winning none of those, conceding plenty of goals too. And if you look at the league as a whole this year, they rank rock bottom for XG ratio, as well as shots in the box ratio, and second from bottom for XG from open play. So Strasbourg, remarkable turnaround really for a club that was sent to the doldrums in 2011. Financial issues saw them demoted to the 5th tier. They've come back to the top flight, sustained in the top flight too, and actually won the League Cup last year as well. That meant they played European football, Europa League qualifiers back in July. That kind of stuck their noses out of joint, really. They really lost their rhythm, didn't enjoy the sort of dual competition of League and Europe as well in the early weeks of the season. So it took them a while to get going, but they've been fantastic since around match day 13, 8 wins, 1 draw, 4 defeats. Only PSG and Marseille earning more points. Last weekend, they drew 1-1 at Lyon, restricted Lyon to just 5 shots in that game. Should have really won the game twice, hitting the post late on as well. And their home record is excellent. 7 wins from 9 since September, all 7 against teams in 6th and below, averaging nearly 2 expected goals per game in those games, giving up very little, if anything at all. They've got a couple of players back from suspension. Their head coach is a bit of a miracle worker, really. So really surprised he's still there. But yeah, quite a confident fancy on Strasbourg to get a win there around 1.8-ish. Okay,
and finally, we're doing best bet. So, Mark, is your best bet Strasbourg, or is it the overs in that Hibs game?
Yeah, it's overs in Hibs, Ali. All the metrics I look at in terms of playing goals and expected goals, shots, etc., all suggest it should be a really good game at Easter Road. So yeah, overs for me.
And Adrian, what's your best bet? Your biggest fancy of the weekend?
Funnily enough, it's not a game we discussed so far. Southampton against Villa. I was tempted by Crystal Palace Newcastle under 2.5 goals, but the price was just 1.5. 1.5. I mean, neither team are going to score, are they? Probably going to be a 0-0 or a 1-0 either way. But at 1.5, I can't put that as my best bet. So for me, Saints Villa. Get this, Villa away from home, 9 times out of 13, both teams have scored. They've been involved in some really entertaining games on the road. Southampton at home, 10 of 13, both teams have scored. And obviously they've conceded a lot, particularly early on in the season. And both of them are really high up there in terms of average goals per game in matches they've been involved in. So for me, Southampton, Villa, both teams to score and over 2.5 goals in the game, 1.8.
Okay, well, thank you very much, gents. Plenty of good nuggets there. We've been through 3 big games in the Premier League: Arsenal, Everton, Leicester, Man City, and Chelsea, Tottenham. Hibs, Livingston in Scotland, and your any other business as well. So thanks for that. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching, if you've done so on the live stream or listening back on a podcast platform. We're grateful for your support, and we'll be back again next week on the Matchbook Weekend Football Podcast.